Hello and welcome. You know, we all think we know the English alphabet. It seems so simple, right? But what if I told you there's a secret code hidden inside those 26 letters? A fascinating, complex world of sound and history that we're about to crack wide open.
ABC, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. We've all hummed that line, haven't we? It's probably one of the first things we ever learned about the English language. And, it kind of tricks us into thinking the whole system is super straightforward. Just a simple little tune you memorize and you're done. But what if it's not so easy? Seriously, what if that simple song is just the tip of the iceberg? Think of it this way. Learning the alphabet song is like knowing the names of all the pieces on a chessboard, but having absolutely no idea how any of them actually move. The real game, the real beauty of it all, is in understanding what those letters do. So let's get right into it. Why is English pronunciation so, well, weird sometimes? The answer really comes down to history. You see, English isn't just one language. It's more like a giant linguistic smoothie. It has spent centuries borrowing words from over 350, yeah, you heard that right, 350 different languages. All of that mixing and matching over time is exactly why we're left with so many irregularities that can be so puzzling. I mean, just think about words like tough, through, and though. They look so similar on the page, but when you say them out loud, they sound completely different. That's literally the history of the language talking to us right there. And speaking of history, get this. It's a great little piece of trivia. For a very long time, up until 1835, the English alphabet didn't have 26 letters. It actually had 27. And that mysterious 27th letter, it was the ampersand. You know, the and symbol. Can you even imagine that? It was so common that children would literally recite their ABCs, and at the very end, they would say XYZ and per se and. The phrase per se just means by itself. So they were saying, and the symbol that by itself means and. Well, over time, and per se and just got slurred together, and that's how we got the word ampersand. How wild is that? All right, so to really crack this code, we have to start with the basics. We need to take a good, hard look at the fundamental tools we're working with. So let's do a quick but really important review of the 26 letters that make up our modern English alphabet. Okay, let's just go through them one by one. It might feel a little basic, but really listening to the name of each letter is the very first step. Here we go. A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, F, F, G, G, H, H, I, J, J, K, K, L, L, M, M, N, N, O, P, P, Q, Q, R, R, S, S, T, T, U, V, V, W, W, X, X, Y, Y, and Z, which you might hear as Z or Z depending on where you are in the world. There they are, the 26 symbols. But remember what we said. The magic, and honestly, the real challenge, isn't in these names. It's in the dozens of sounds these letters can make. And this is where things get really, really interesting. This is the heart of the hidden code. How on earth do we take just 26 little symbols and use them to create the huge, rich tapestry of sounds that makes up spoken English? It almost feels impossible, doesn't it? Well, let's start decoding. So let's just put that number out there again, 26. That's our toolkit. These are the characters you're seeing on the screen right now, the ones you type into your phone, the ones you see in every book. They're the fundamental building blocks, the visual part of our language. But, and this is the big reveal, the crucial point of it all, those 26 letters have to do the work of representing around 44 distinct sounds. Just pause and think about that for a second. 26 letters for 44 sounds. The math just doesn't add up, does it? This mismatch, this fundamental gap, is the single biggest reason why English pronunciation and spelling can feel so incredibly confusing. We're asking these letters to do double, sometimes even triple duty. So what do we call one of these individual sounds? Well, the technical term for it is a phoneme. A phoneme is simply the absolute smallest piece of sound that can change a word's meaning. Now, that might sound complicated, but it's really not. Think about the words cat and bat. What's the only difference you can hear? It's that first sound, right? The cuh versus the buh. Those are two different phonemes. Learning to really hear and produce those tiny little distinctions, that's the secret to unlocking clear, confident pronunciation.
Okay, so now that we understand this basic problem, not enough letters for all the sounds, let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world. We're going to dive into some of the most common pronunciation traps that this system creates. And trust me, these trip up everyone, not just people learning the language.
Let's start with a classic troublemaker, the GH combination. This pair of letters is like a little time capsule, a walking, talking fossil. It's a piece of history stuck in our modern words. For instance, in a word like cough or laugh, it makes an F sound. Then you look at a word like thought or night, and suddenly the GH is completely silent. It's just there for decoration, I guess. And then, just to make things even crazier, you have a word like ghost, where it goes back to making a hard G sound. It's not totally random, it's just that the original pronunciation rules are hundreds of years old and have been lost to time. So for us today, you basically have to learn each GH word on its own. It's a real puzzle.
All right, next up is the famous th sound. This one is notoriously difficult for so many people, and there's a very simple reason why. It just doesn't exist in a ton of other languages. Your mouth literally isn't used to making this shape. So the key is to get physical with it. Think of it like a little exercise for your mouth. You actually have to consciously place the tip of your tongue just behind your top front teeth, or even between them slightly, and gently blow air out. It's gonna feel super weird and unnatural at first, but you have to build that muscle memory to be able to say words like the, think, and three clearly and correctly.
And this right here, this is so important. The difference between vowel sounds in English can be incredibly subtle, but the change in meaning is gigantic. Just listen very closely to this. Ship, sheep. Can you hear that tiny difference, I versus E? Or what about this pair? Sit, seat. And one more, live, leave. That tiny little change in how you shape your mouth for the vowel completely changes the word you're saying. This is why just listening, I mean really actively listening, is one of the most powerful tools you have. Getting this subtle distinction right is absolutely critical for people to understand you. Okay, so after hearing about all of these traps and confusing irregularities, you might be thinking, this is impossible. How can anyone master this? But hold on. The good news is you can crack this code. It's absolutely doable. And it's not about memorizing a giant, dusty rulebook. It's all about having the right strategies and the right mindset. And here's a really key insight from the experts who study this stuff. One of the most important things you can possibly do is connect sounds to meaning. Think about it. It's really hard to hear all the little phonetic bits and pieces in a word if that word is just a meaningless jumble of sounds to you. But if you know what the word means first, your brain has something to hang on to. It creates a hook, and that makes it so much easier to then break down the sounds. This is exactly why learning vocabulary and learning phonics separately just doesn't work as well. You have to do them together, hand in hand. So, what can you actually do? Let's break it down into 4 practical steps you can start using today. First, start with what you already know. Find the bridges between the sounds of English and the sounds in your own first language. Which ones are the same? Which ones are totally new? That gives you a map. Second, become a word detective. Don't just learn a new word. Study it, look at its spelling, say its sounds out loud, and connect that to its meaning. Third, practice writing what you hear. Put on a video or a song and just try to write down the sounds. It forces your brain to pay close attention. And finally, number 4, make it hands-on. Get some magnetic letters or alphabet blocks. Physically moving the letters around while you say the sounds can really help make that abstract connection between a symbol and its sound much more concrete in your mind. So, as you can see, the English alphabet is so much more than that simple little song. It's a code. A deep, historical, and yeah, sometimes frustrating code. But here's the most important thing about codes. They can be cracked. And you now have the keys to start doing that. So the question isn't, can I learn this anymore? The real question is, now that you know how to start cracking the code, what new conversations, stories, and opportunities will you unlock?
You are doing great. Don't stop. Subscribe and watch the next video.